morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our annual Ceremony of Remembrance. Every year, Memorial holds these ceremonies to honor those who gave their lives in the First World War and subsequent conflicts. And at Memorial University of Newfoundland, we have a very special connection to those young men and to their families. The ones left to mourn were the ones who sowed the seeds of our beginning as an educational institution. Memorial would, to quote Newfoundland poet Robert Gear MacDonald, advance and foster progress in a world at peace. From this distinct origin, the university has inherited a responsibility to remember and commemorate those who served and died. This year, of course, our commemoration looks a little different. We're not gathering on our St. John's campus with the Royal Canadian Legion Color Party to remember. There's no assembly at the Merchant Navy Memorial located at the Marine Institute. That memorial honors those who served in the Allied merchant navies during the Second World War. It bears the names of Newfoundland and Labrador mariners, 332 men and 1 woman, who lost their lives in service to their country. An important part of Grenfell Campus is a Danger Tree Memorial Site, which also includes a sculpture of a First World War soldier by artist Morgan MacDonald. There will be no ceremony at Grenfell today, so for the first time, we are commemorating together, but virtually. Today, our ceremony will include segments recorded by the Labrador Institute, Grenfell Campus, the Marine Institute, the St. John's Campus, and Harlow Campus, all with the support of Signal Hill Campus. This is a truly university-wide ceremony. Following the end of the First World War, the early years were bleak and difficult for what was then the country of Newfoundland. Families mourned and keenly felt the loss of the hundreds of men who died. Those who returned had to make a difficult transition to everyday life. But as Ben Franklin famously said, out of adversity comes opportunity. Many of the men and women who returned from overseas brought with them exciting new ideas and attitudes. They began to challenge social norms. They demanded greater equality for underprivileged segments of society. For example, during the war, women had become family breadwinners, leaders, and organizers. They had demonstrated that women's roles were of tremendous economic and social importance. After the war, many took on a new mission to win the voting rights for women. They formed the Women's Franchise League in 1920, and 5 years later, government made it legal for women to vote and to run for public office. The war also created the need for new business and entrepreneurs. War brought new opportunity, for example, to Holloway Studios in St. John's, which took hundreds of photos of soldiers. When her brother Bert was killed in the war, sister Elsie Holloway continued to run the business well into the 1940s. Exciting post-war technological advances emerged, especially in the field of aviation. In 1919, there was a race to complete the first non-stop transatlantic flight. The Dominion of Newfoundland was put under the spotlight of the international press when British aviators Alcock and Brown took off from Lester's Field that year. The Dominion continued to play a role in the upcoming years, and by the 1930s, the island of Newfoundland was becoming a hub of international travel. There were more calls for class equality in post-war Newfoundland, focusing on expanding education and making the halls of higher learning more accessible. And so, Memorial University College opened its doors on September 15, 1925. Out of adversity came opportunity. We are a living legacy. We embody the aspirations of those who served to build a better world. As we commemorate their sacrifices, we celebrate our past, we embrace the present, and we look forward to tomorrow with confidence and hope. Now I'd like to introduce Matthew Byrne, who will perform the traditional ballad, The July Drive. Matthew comes from a family of Newfoundland and Labrador music makers and is one of Canada's most authentic and vital traditional voices. And of course, he's a proud alumnus of Memorial University. After that, we will travel to other memorial locations to continue the ceremony of remembrance.
Shout loud the praise of Newfoundland, our gallant volunteers. We hail our fellow countrymen with loud and hearty cheers. For in that drive they played their part and proved what they could do, and lost their lives to save the flag, the old red, white, and blue. Those gallant sons of Newfoundland, that day they showed their might. Their regiment, 800 strong, were foremost in the fight, while some lay wounded on the field and more brave lads lay dead. Those fearless youth of Newfoundland so boldly marched ahead. They marched up to the German line, where shot and shell did fly, where many's a brave young volunteer gave up his life to die. But yet undaunted they pushed ever nearer to the foe, to find them well prepared that day to lay our regiment low. No soldier flinched, not one dropped down, for none they seemed afraid, and showed the famous courage of the gallant Light Brigade. Their praise is now on every tongue, for such a hero's stand. The first young corporal heads the crowd, is a boy from Newfoundland. 'Twas sad to see those fine young men that left their native shore, in manhood prime, in health and strength, they'll see their friends no more. For in that drive they lost their lives up to the cannon's mouth. Push on, those dying words, you'll hear those heroes shout. Now scattered far from home and friends is where these young men lay, who lost their lives to save the flag, all on that fateful day. We know they'll see that heavenly land, that bright and happy shore, where all is peace and happiness, and fighting is no more.
Good morning. I am Jean Crane in Happy Valley Goose Bay, Labrador. It is good to welcome all of you here today on this special Remembrance Day occasion, 2020. I do remember the day the world declared peace. My mother was listening to the radio, and she allowed us children to come one by one, sit beside her, and she turned out one earphone. There was two earphones, and the radio was run with a motorboat battery. We could listen to the announcements because we expected world peace was to be announced. It was Sir Winston Churchill who declared that the world declared peace at 11 o'clock in the morning, 11 minutes after 11. And my mother was always letting us listen for a little while, and then somebody else could listen. I do remember the day the world declared peace that time. We were all so excited because we had heard the announcement. We started running around the town telling everybody there's peace in the world again. The war is over. And then we celebrated by building a big bonfire down by the dock, which is in front of the houses. And everybody kept coming and gathering, and we had a big bonfire, and the Reverend brought soft drinks and something to eat. And later we went to the town hall, and there we danced all night. There were two fiddlers and two guitar players, and we danced till daylight. And we celebrated, and we were so happy there was peace in our world again that we didn't go home and go to bed until daylight in the morning. I would like to give you a word of blessing. I talk about our ancestors. Theirs was the language of this land. They spoke in ancient tongue. They often spoke and were not heard, as if no meaning to their word. Where was justice way back then? The heart beat faint, the spirit wept. We come full circle in this place, the stranger and the ancient race. Healing now, the heart beats strong, the spirit sings. Amen.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
In Memoriam, 310 former students of the Memorial University College offered themselves for active service in the Second Great War, 1939 to 1945. The university holds in special honour the past students who have been reported dead or missing and whose names are here given. David Monroe Baird, Lawrence Bannikin, John Hamilton Barrett, Walter Robert Butt, Herbert Bond Clark, Roy Clark, William Bradley Collins, Thomas Joseph Delaney, John Kevin Evans. Victor Raymond French. Neil Willoughby Harnett. William Palmer House. David Simpson Kerr. Brendan David Lacey. Harold Lewis Learning. Lionel Edgar Legg. Wallace Clifford Luther. Edgar Raymond Martin. David Gordon Morris. Clarence Walter Parsons. Alexander Duncan Saint. Arthur James Sampson. Bernard Thomas Scammell. Francis Smith. Eric Augustus Snow. Charles Henry Stewart. James Robin Stick. Philip Francis Templeman. Harold Baxter Wareham. James Walcott Winter.
Thank you all for joining us. My thanks also to those who assisted with this virtual event, including the Royal Newfoundland Regiment Band for the music. Please remember, we are all living lives that these young men and women never had. And please don't let the pandemic stop you from taking time to remember in your own way tomorrow.